it's time to cut the crap, okay? MMA fans, Alex Pereira fans have gotten too ahead of themselves when it comes to the GOAT debate between Khabib and Alex Pereira. Because I've seen a whole lot of nonsense going around the internet, going around MMA social media for the past couple of days concerning Alex Pereira and his MMA legacy. And the first thing I want to say is Alex Pereira is literally one of my favorite fighters. I love watching this guy fight. He's extremely entertaining to watch. I'll never forget what this guy did to Izzy, okay? Which is, I can never thank him enough. But listen, people are overrating this guy's legacy to oblivion now, all right? And I think a big part of that has to do with, well, it has to do with a couple of things. Because I've heard people saying things like he's got a better resume than Khabib. 4 championship wins, 2 different divisions. If Khabib's on the all-time list, Alex Pereira has to be up there. Khabib only had 3 good wins. And it almost seems like a rite of passage these days for MMA fans to discredit Khabib, right? To prove that they're hardcore, right? Because if you're a Khabib fan, you're automatically a casual. Oh, you can't be taken seriously. You're a Khabib fan that thinks he's high up there on the all-time list. And I think it's very similar to what was going on when Khabib beat Conor McGregor and then started getting other wins like Dustin and Gaethje. A lot of people disliked Conor and they were glazing Khabib a lot to just discredit Conor and to prove that Khabib was better than him. And I think something similar is going on with Alex Pereira beating Adesanya. Although I can't stand Izzy, I think a lot of people just really want Pereira to absolutely eclipse Adesanya's legacy. And so what they're doing is they're just catapulting him up on the all-time list because they want him to do 3 times more than Adesanya has ever done in MMA. And I don't even have Izzy in my top 15 all-time. And I don't even have Khabib in my top 5 all-time, okay? But it needs to be said. If you think that Alex Pereira is higher than Khabib on the all-time list, you're out of your fucking mind, okay? Because it's real simple, and I'm going to lay it out for you guys, and I'll give you a real simple argument, okay? We're going to break it down win by win. All right, let's just get into it. You're either just someone that cannot stand Khabib, and that's just what you're told. Or I'm a hardcore fan. I got to just like Khabib. Or you're just not thinking. All right, it's one of the two things. Because some of you guys, you're not just hating on Khabib. I totally understand that. Some of you guys are just saying Alex Pereira is better than Khabib all time because you're not really thinking this through. And I understand that. But let's just get down to the fucking business because it's starting to piss me off how annoying Pereira's fans are. Let's just talk about it. We're not going to talk about 29-0 because Khabib's wins outside of the UFC are just as good as sparring sessions as far as I'm concerned. They're not important. 13-0, all right? 13-0, never moved up a weight class, 3 title wins. But we're not just going to talk about title win, former champion. We're going to talk about who these guys are beating. Pereira is 6-1, all right? Right off the bat, we're not going to discuss the Glory kickboxing belts, right? Because even though Pereira is better all time when it comes to being a combat athlete, I actually think Pereira might be the best combat athlete to ever compete in combat sports, okay? But we're talking MMA. We're talking all-time list in MMA. Otherwise, things would always get funky, and Henry Cejudo would have to be at the top of the heap. I don't even have Henry in my top 15, all right? Let's talk about it. 13-0 versus 6-1. Khabib's best win is Conor, all right? I think Conor's probably the highest rated guy that Khabib's ever beat. And when I say highest rated, I'm talking about a guy that is the highest on the all-time list out of anyone that Khabib has ever fought. I think he's higher than Dustin Poirier. I think he's higher than Justin Gaethje. He's had a belt in 2 different divisions. He's undefeated at featherweight. He was the guy to dethrone Jose Aldo. And again, like, listen, I don't even have Conor in my top 15, okay? Pereira's best win is over Adesanya. I think a lot of you guys would agree that Adesanya is probably the highest rated guy that Pereira's ever beaten MMA. He's 1-1 with him. Like, I understand in life, Pereira has eclipsed Izzy when it comes to their personal rivalry. He's beat Adesanya 3 times in life, in combat. Okay? I get that. In MMA, they're 1-1. Okay, so when we're talking about ranking these guys, Pereira doesn't just have, he has the jump on Izzy. No, we got flatlined earlier this year. Are we not counting losses? We got to count losses, all right? Because at the end of the day, I'm not just someone that looks at title wins and, oh, we only have to look at their title reign. No, I'm looking at their whole career in MMA, in the big leagues, where it matters. They're 1-1, all right? So Pereira isn't someone that's completely proved that he's better than Izzy in MMA, just in their personal rivalry, okay? Let's get on to it. Let's talk about Jiri Prochazka, all right? That's the guy he just beat up a weight class. The fact that it's up a weight class does make it very impressive, okay? All right, that's real impressive. But the fact that Jiri Prochazka is only... Jiri literally has 3 wins in MMA, bro. Or not in MMA. Not in MMA, I'm sorry. 3 wins in the UFC, okay? Jiri Prochazka, I think a lot of you guys would agree, he's pretty damn solid as a fighter, right? He's a really formidable opponent. But Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje have more successful careers than him. And I think a lot of you guys would agree that Dustin Poirier is higher up on the all-time list than Jiri Prochazka. Dustin Poirier, we're talking what, top 40 fighters all time? And that's at the very least, right? One of the best lightweights to ever do it. Jiri Prochazka, 3 wins in the UFC. Ozdemir. Glover Teixeira is a good win because people act like Glover wasn't on a tear at the time and literally coming off of winning a fight against Jan Blachowicz. But who else? Dominic Reyes? Well, Dominic Reyes is at the time a pretty good win, but that's it. 3 wins versus Dustin Poirier, who is one of the best lightweights to ever do it. That, of course, wasn't a champion, but that's just because of who was champ at the time. Charles Oliveira and Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think Dustin's higher up on the all-time list, and I think Gaethje's higher up on the all-time list than Jiri Prochazka, who's got 3 wins, and that's it. And he's 3-1 now. Okay? Let's get to Sean Strickland. All right, because people are going to bring up former champions. What about RDA? RDA was a former champ. Are we going to just sit here and act like Sean Strickland's like top 20 all-time? RDA's not a top 20 all-time, but that's a former champ. And if you're looking at their careers, I actually think that they're pretty damn similar. Like, I think that RDA is on a similar level to Sean Strickland, and we'll see what he can do with that middleweight belt. His win could age better. Pereira's win over Strickland could age a lot better. But people totally forget that Khabib beat RDA. And that, to me, proves that a lot of people that say shit like Khabib only has 3 wins, those are the same guys that'll bring up the 4 champions. But they won't bring up RDA, who's a former champion that Khabib beat when RDA was in his prime. Right? How old was RDA when Khabib beat him? What, 32, 33? A couple years before Colby beat him, and that's Colby Covington's best win on his entire resume? Yet that ain't a good win? So I think we can agree that Strickland and RDA are similar levels of opponents because, let's be honest, Pereira didn't beat Strickland when he was a champ, and Khabib didn't beat RDA when he was a champ, but they're champions. Okay? They'll always go down as a guy that had the UFC belt. And then let's get to Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz is a great win, a little bit older, but still a really good win up a weight class. Close fight. Doesn't matter, though. Okay? I'm with you there. Okay? I'm with you there. That's a good win. But outside of that, how many other wins does Alex Pereira have? 2 more? Andreas Michailidis and Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva, never been ranked. Andreas Michailidis, flash in the pan. That guy doesn't even have a legacy to begin with. Neither does Bruno Silva. And let's look at Khabib's other wins, okay? Michael Johnson, who was ranked at the time. Edson Barboza, who was ranked at the time, okay? UFC legend Edson Barboza, never a champion, but a guy that will be remembered for a long time as one of the best strikers to ever do it. And outside of that for Khabib, right? Because outside of the Bruno Silva and Andreas Michailidis thing, there's nothing else. That's it, right? That's totally it. Outside of Barboza, outside of RDA, Michael Johnson, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and Conor McGregor, you still have 7 wins in the big leagues in the UFC, okay? Al Iaquinta being one of those. And I know people are going to say, oh, Al Iaquinta. Where are Pereira's other wins in the big leagues, in the UFC? He's got 0. So you're comparing 6-1, a guy that got flatlined this year. Khabib never got flatlined, okay? Let's just be honest about it. 6-1 versus 13-0, when I just gave you proof that Khabib's wins are at least on the same caliber as Pereira's good wins, okay? And he has more wins that are good, right? Like someone like Edson Barboza, someone like Michael Johnson. Those are good wins. Those guys were ranked. And then he's got 7 others. And he's also undefeated. And he also didn't get chinned. And he's also not 1-1 with the best win that he has. So where the hell does this come from? Like, again, Pereira's doing his thing. But outside of the title or not, I'm just looking at, like, when I really think about how good someone is all time, I'm not just thinking about the title that they have. Yuri Prochazka was rushed to the belt. 2 wins, and then he got a shot at the belt, right? Imagine Dustin Poirier, 3 wins, he gets a shot at the belt. Maybe he could have been a champion back in the day. But my point is, you just have to look at who these guys are beating and rate how good their opponents are, okay? And Khabib's legacy, his resume, is better than Pereira's. Simple as. Yuri Prochazka, 3-0 in the UFC. How many fights has Dustin Poirier won? How many people has he knocked out? Right? How many ranked opponents has he torn through? Same thing with Justin Gaethje. Same thing with Conor McGregor, former champion, former guy that's held a belt in 2 different divisions, knocked out Jose Aldo. Does Jan Blachowicz beat someone on the level of Jose Aldo? No. Right? It's almost as if, like, right? It's like these guys are eating their opponents. How dangerous were the fish that they were eating, right? Because, you know, it's just one of those situations where if you want to determine how scary of a monster Alex Pereira is, you need to look at the monsters that he's eating. And I think that Dustin Poirier, pound for pound at least, is a more formidable monster than someone like Yuri in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not saying Pereira's not going to pass Khabib. He could. I think he'll defend against Jamal Hill, all right? I think he'll win a couple more fights. He's going to be around for at least, 3 more years? Like, this guy could very well surpass him, but he hasn't done it yet. And let's not act like he is. And again, I'm going to have people in my comment section saying, wow, man, you're a fucking Alex Pereira hater. Fuck off. Like, I'm a big fan of the guy. I love watching him fight. But his fans are getting unbelievably annoying. It's just as annoying as when people say Khabib's the fucking GOAT. He's not. Again, a big part of it has to do with, I think, that either people aren't thinking and they're just, again, they're a prisoner of the moment. People call me a prisoner of the moment. Call me a prisoner of the moment now. Fuck no. I'm not even that big of a fan of Khabib. I just think that it's hilarious how people will always discredit him. It's like if you're a Charles Oliveira fan, for example, you have to simultaneously hate Khabib. That's the rite of passage for being a Charles fan, it seems, which is just a little bit insane to me. I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree with it, but it's just the truth. It's just the truth, bro. You can like all of these guys, all right? You just have to be objective about how you rate them, all right? So, yeah, if you disagree with what I said in this video, let me know why. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, brother, but it's up a weight class. It means so much more. Yuri Prochazka and Jan Blachowicz are good wins, but like, as I said, the guy has 6 wins in the UFC, 4 good wins, as opposed to, what did I say, 6 good wins for Khabib and 7 on top of that in the big leagues. I think that's better. Never lost, never got knocked out. I'm not going to be one of these cringy Khabib fanboys that says never bled and all that. Like, I don't care about that stuff that much. But let's also talk about that, now that I think of it, the dominance of Khabib. Was this guy getting knocked out? Was he having, like, close fights in his prime like Alex did with Jan Blachowicz where it was, like, extremely razor close? No, he wasn't. But it is what it is, man. I completely disagree with it. But yeah, I just wanted to settle the score. I wanted to settle the debate. Alex can surpass Khabib. All right. I'm a big fan of Alex Pereira. I love this guy's backstory. I made a whole documentary on Alex Pereira, bro. I spent a lot of time on that shit. And through making that documentary, I became an even bigger fan of him. But his fans are becoming a little bit cringy. That's why I wanted to make this video. On to the next one.